Well, ladies and gentlemen, it would seem as if the Democratic Party is currently experiencing a colossal crisis in leadership and potentially even imploding. And no, I'm not kidding. You see, a recent survey came out in which thousands of Democrat voters were essentially asked the question, who's running the show? Who's in charge of the party? Who is our leader? And let me just tell you, the results are bleak. As a consequence of the 2024 election, it seems like the Democrats are pretty much just a bunch of chickens running around with their heads cut off. They most certainly don't have a strong leader to pick up the pieces, and even worse, they don't even know what direction they want the party to go in. Should they become more progressive or work on becoming a little bit more moderate and less woke? They can't even decide. There's zero plan and zero leadership. And so with this big survey that just came out the other day, we now know for sure Democrat voters are pretty much completely aimless right now. Take a look at this. According to the massive survey put out by USA Today, a combined total of 49% of Democrat voters either don't know who their leader is or they just don't think they even have a leader at all. And when half your party's voters don't even know who's steering the boat, so to speak, guess what? That is when you have a big problem. But what's perhaps an even bigger problem is that 10% of voters still think Kamala Harris is their leader, even after she just got done proving herself to be a terrible candidate and completely and totally incompetent. And worth noting, Kamala Harris is 10% of the support, although it still seems kind of small. It's not exactly overwhelming support to say the least. She is still the most popular Democrat out of the lineup, which really speaks to just how demoralized Democratic voters are right now. Then, moving on from Kamala Harris, you have some other prominent Democrats all having less than 10% support. You have Hakeem Jeffries with 9%, who's currently the Democrats' House Minority Leader. Then you have Barack Obama with 8% for some reason, because he obviously can't even run for president again. Maybe some people saw the name Obama and just assumed it was Big Mike. Who knows? But then you have a series of other prominent Democrats, all with less than 5% of the support, all of whom we hear about almost every day in the news, but that no one really seems to support or view as a capable leader. This list includes California Governor Gavin Newsom with 3%, and not surprisingly so because he's pretty much single-handedly destroyed California. Between you and me, I think these fires in Southern California have pretty much destroyed any presidential aspirations that he may have had. Then you have Nancy Pelosi with 3% of the support, who is 84 years old and probably belongs in a nursing home. Although, against all odds, she has actually recently filed paperwork suggesting she's going to run for office again in 2026, clearly stating her intention to die of old age while in office. You also have the infamous AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, with 2% of the total support, and she's probably the most progressive person on the list here. Let's all thank God that it seems like the progressives are turning away from her insane brand of progressive politics. Following AOC is George Soros, the demonic entity himself, with 1%. This is actually just insane to believe that 1% of Democrats genuinely believe that George Soros should be in charge of leading their party. You also have Bernie Sanders with 1% of the total support, the Democratic Party's senior-ranking socialist who seemingly won't be politically active for much longer, although, as we all know, these Democrat politicians have a tendency to cling to power until they're at least 115 years old. So really, who knows how long he's going to be a part of the picture. Then, of course, you have Pete Buttigieg with 1% of the support, who is probably one of the slimiest politicians in all of Washington, D.C., and who probably doesn't have a shot in hell at becoming president considering his colossal failure in handling the massive train derailment in Ohio just a couple years ago. And finally, at the very bottom of the list, with 1% of the support, we have John Fetterman, who has actually been flirting with the Republicans lately, to say the least, seemingly becoming less Democrat every single day. It actually wouldn't surprise me if he swaps parties altogether at some point. And so after going through the list of names here, you can't help but think to yourself, is this really the best they can do? The reality is, right now the Democrats don't even have one single politician who's middle-aged, somewhat accomplished, and reasonably respected. They genuinely don't even have one single powerhouse candidate. You know, like in 2008, and by the way, I'm not an Obama guy by any means, but at least I can sort of understand the Democrats' enthusiasm behind him, meaning I'm not sitting here scratching my head wondering why they all rallied behind him. But with this lineup of 2024 Democrats right here, things really are looking depressing for the Democratic Party. But hey, you know what isn't depressing? Subscribing to this channel if you enjoyed the videos, because I really do appreciate it and it does help a lot. But then, of course, to top all of these leadership issues off, what's painfully obvious is that the Democrats can't even agree on what their platform stands for anymore. Right now, the Democrat leadership is literally arguing amongst themselves about why they lost the 2024 election. Were we too progressive? Were we not progressive enough? Should we have been even more woke? Is that what the Americans want from us? Seriously, they seem 100% clueless and completely out of touch with the average American voter. And this is why literally every single state in the country had a rightward shift in the 2024 election. Every single state voted more conservatively in 2024 than they did in 2020. What's so crazy is that if you look at Democrats just 1 or 2 generations ago, they claimed to be the party of the workers, fighting for things like fair compensation and various workers' benefits. Now, they're unironically fighting to flood the job market with illegal immigrants, to abolish the concept of biological sex, and to send billions of dollars to foreign countries. So yeah, it's no wonder the Democrats are experiencing landslide losses. No one wants anything to do with their insane policies. And what's obvious is that right now amongst Americans, there's a huge desire to focus domestically on America and the Americans therein. A lot of people feel like, as a country, we've been so preoccupied with things beyond our own borders that now, domestically, things are sort of falling apart. And hey, when I say falling apart, I mean both literally and figuratively. It's really difficult for Americans to get on board with sending money to foreign countries or with poking around in the Middle East or whatever else it is that we're doing when domestically things are really rough. When the economy is bad and illegal immigrant crime is through the roof and infrastructure is crumbling, people are rightfully saying, hey, why are we sending money halfway around the world when I'm struggling right here in America? And so unless the Democrats are able to field a politician that can actually address those issues that are affecting Americans here in America domestically, much in the same way that Donald Trump has, they're just going to keep on losing elections. When Americans are financially struggling and the Democrats respond by talking about gender-neutral bathrooms, that's when people stop supporting them. It's just completely out of touch with reality. Now, obviously, I'm much more of a conservative, maybe even a regressive type of guy, but I've pretty much spent my entire life living on the West Coast surrounded by Democrats, and I have to tell you, it's been surreal to watch in person on a daily basis as pretty much everyone around me has become insane. And hey, if there are any other conservative viewers living on the West Coast, I know you guys can back me up on this. The Democrats have become completely unhinged. And so, hey, I'll be completely honest with you guys. I really do sincerely hope the Democrats can fix these issues of both leadership and of policy. Generally speaking, I think it's probably better for the country at large if both parties are reasonably sane and somewhat competent, as opposed to one party being the voice of reason and one party belonging in a mental asylum. But hey, that's just my opinion. So with this one, guys, I want to know what you guys have to say about all of this, so please go down below and drop a comment. Please like the video if you liked it. Please subscribe. Like I said, it's huge and it really does help a lot. Thank you all very much for watching, and as always, stay safe.